You're listening to the City Podcast. Unadulterated, non-politically correct, unfiltered, real talk. The city from the inside out. With your hosts, Chad Cranston and Steve Mealy.
Welcome to the City Podcast. I'm Steve Mealy.
And this is Chad Cranston here in Toronto, Canada, right across the street from Bellwood Park. And it's a beautiful day out. So listen, for everybody, our new email address is thecitypodcastca@gmail.com. Email is there. Thanks everybody for the DMs that you've been doing on social media platforms. I've been getting back to everybody as much as possible.
Sorry about the bounced emails from the other address, but our sites just get sorted out. So
here we are. Today we have a special guest. I'm stoked to talk to one of Toronto's premier right now in the year 2017 restaurateurs. Can we call you guys restaurateurs? Is that still permitted? Is that a French thing?
It's a little bit of an old thing, but I guess I'm getting old, so it's
yeah. So what would you call? What's your title?
Restaurateur.
Restaurateur.
I know it sounds a little douchey, but you know,
you think
some things are
a little bit. Anything with at the end.
Restaurateur.
Yeah.
Couverture.
Especially in a French accent, but yeah.
So what's the name? Who are you, man?
My name is Grant Van Gameren.
Yeah.
I'm a chef, owner, restaurateur of several Toronto restaurants.
Well known.
Mainly Bar Isabel, Bar Raval, El Rey Mezcal Bar, Pretty Ugly, and Harry's Charbroiled.
What's the new one opening up?
The Tennessee Tavern.
It's pretty exciting, actually. Interesting as well.
Yeah, our new catering event business called Victor Drees is set to open this month, the end of the month. And then we also have a couple others on the go.
What's the story behind the catering name? It's totally different than everything else you kind of have in those themes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we get so many requests for weddings and parties and events and stuff like that, and realistically, unless you have the infrastructure to do them, it gets very difficult, because we're set up for space wise, staff wise to do what we're doing at the restaurants, and I'm a yes man, so. I've teamed up with my partner Chris Brown, who is previous of Citizen Catering. So we ended up teaming up and creating a new company called Victor Drees, and it's basically kind of like high curated events and catering.
That's pretty exciting, actually. Especially in Toronto. It's just constant corporate. I
think it's just events are, food in general is, no longer just a vessel to, feed you dinner. It's it's a form of entertainment and brand enhancement and so many other things. So we're really trying to diversify the power communicating through food on other levels. So it was kind of just a no-brainer to team up. He had the infrastructure. We ended up moving into a bigger space, and so we're set to release that at the end of this month.
Mm-hmm. So the end of April.
I've never been more happy or more excited to cater someone's wedding than
I can imagine. So listen, on the City Podcast, what we do is we're Toronto-centric.
Yeah.
I also speak to actors and event people that come through town, musicians.
And personalities.
And more importantly, we just wanted to connect and give a voice to the movers and shakers, the guys who are making Toronto happen. Mm-hmm. And it's getting a global recognition, So this is our way of getting your story out as well.
Cool.
So we just kind of wanted to give, for someone who's never been to one of your restaurants, which is hard to believe, if you live in Toronto, that is, a chance to know what you're about, how you got where you are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As comfortable as you are, as talk about what you're talking about. We're not TMZ. We're not trying to find out about bringing any ex-girlfriends or, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But just lay out the groundwork.
Yeah.
If you want, we can kind of ask you questions, or you can just tell as you want to.
Yeah, I mean, why don't you start off with questions, and then I generally don't have a problem.
So what made you want to become a chef? As a standard question, but
yeah, I mean, I guess going back to growing up, right? I was born in Mississauga, and a big turning point in my life, my family's life. My mother passed away of cancer when I was 11. I'm a Cancer, so my zodiac sign. So I'm a mama's boy. So that really affected my upbringing. My father was had to raise me and my two sisters. He worked across seas. And realistically, I don't think I have the typical chef, upbringing of making gnocchi with my nonna and, kind of, food was never a family thing, right? So, I grew up on Hungry Man dinners, microwave broccoli and salmon, under-seasoned pork chops, whatever, right? Like that was just the reality, and it was fine, you know what I mean? Like my father did the best he could, and he did a great job, based on the circumstances. I was a bad kid, did all the typical things, but I literally just started at Pizza, summer job, Ontario Place, and then I guess I still never wanted to be a chef. It was really just I was a rapper.
Who would know that?
Yeah. I rapped live on Jonovision, with Chocolate, Cardinal Official. They were like the next set.
I'm gonna search this up.
I'm gonna find it.
I know Chalks. I'm gonna find it.
But I was, my rap name was Mr. Dukes, named after Frank Dukes of Bloodsport. And, I used to make homemade do-rags and wear, full white velour Big It Up suits.
Oh my God.
And,
Big It Up still kicking it.
Made 2 music videos, documentary as well, and a small EP. So, I was like legit, but then that was like when Eminem came out on the scene, and that was pretty much it. I was like, I'm not as good as this guy, so what the fuck is the point?
Wow.
It was really like, okay.
So did you end up signing with a label or anything? Or?
There was a couple offers. I know there was like some talks with Sony and through a friend, and then there was another like small company that you actually had to pay to like do it, but. I guess we weren't that good, but it was me and a partner. So from rapping it, I was still cooking, that paid the bills. I ended up getting into snake breeding. So I've always been to animals. And so I got my first boa constrictor living in Parkdale, where I spent most of my, teens and 20s, living on Jameson there. And, I got my first snake, and just like anything, and especially when it comes to cooking and running restaurants, I have a very excessive nature. When I get into something, I get into it, I conquer it, and then I find the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of keep that under my belt. So, before you knew it, I had a website. Just when websites started coming out, and I had like 50 pythons and boa constrictors, all serious, 6, 7, 8 footers, all from like Sumatra and Borneo, highly endangered. And I was breeding them and selling them. And
in Parkdale? Was it an apartment or a house?
It was a bachelor apartment in Parkdale where I literally had like custom cages stacked from the floor to the ceiling. And then all these like babies and these kind of Rubbermaid drawer systems with thermometers and hygrometers and heating elements and all this kind of stuff. So it's a really weird world. It's got just as much drama and gossip than any other highly kind of concentrated interest. So again, excessive nature, and at a certain point. I woke up one day and everything that I loved about, snakes, animals, reptiles, I just realized that I had overdone it. And I was no longer looking at it as, a hobby. It was a business, and I just didn't like it. So I ended up selling it all and buying a loft in Parkdale. And
where did you end up in Parkdale?
The Noble Lofts.
Okay, Noble Street,
which was like 10 years ago. But and then, eventually I just woke up, and on Facebook, when that had just come out, it was like all of my friends were posting, that they had graduated university with like engineering degrees and, business degrees. And I woke up and I was like, I don't even have a bank account. I didn't have a bank card. I was still cashing all my, culinary checks at Money Mart, right there.
But you got a loft on
Queen and
Noble.
Lansdowne. I had a loft on Noble, but, maybe I got the bank account before the loft, but, in and around that time, it was just really I woke up one day and I was just like, holy shit, how am I ever going to, so I guess it was pre-loft, but I was like, how am I ever going to have a car, a bank account, even a credit card? I looked at my father and I was just like, he's got this house, 2 cars, you know, it was a huge wake up call. And from that moment, it was like I couldn't change my situation right then and there, but I knew that I had to be more productive. And I would literally wake up at like 6 a.m. and vacuum my apartment, you know, just because it was this like sense of insecurity and like, you know, where the hell am I going? You know, like all these people have kind of, you know, surpassed me in some form. So from there, I ended up getting a serious culinary job, and you know, quickly realizing that I knew nothing, even though I had been a sous chef at like Il Fornello for 4 years, and you know, I thought you know, garnish was like pine nuts on fettuccine Alfredo pasta, and you know, I got to Canoe. I got to Canoe restaurant, and I was just like demanded the most amount of money that they've paid anyone there. And just, I was like, yo, I'm sous chef. I've been sous chef, you know, I've opened restaurants. And the first day I remember just like looking at like a Jerusalem artichoke and like, what the hell is this vegetable? You know what I mean? And I realized I literally knew nothing. So I really felt I had to play catch up. And I didn't tell anyone I didn't know what a Jerusalem artichoke is, but, you know, I literally went home every single night, you know, no longer partying and drinking, and just kind of researched, read, drank tea, you know, got up early, showed up to work early, and, you know, again, excessive nature and just, you know, that drive of, you know, not so much success. It's always been like a drive to like not fail.
Is it a Dutch thing?
I know nothing about Dutch.
Van Gameren's not Dutch?
No, it is Dutch, but I mean, I literally have never been.
The reason why I'm asking, I have a lot of
Dutch.
Dutch.
Dutch because he used to dance in his routines.
Yeah. The Dutch are good at breaking. I have a good friend that's Dutch, and he's very similar to you. Yeah. And he's doing the same thing. The guy makes me feel lazy because he works like tremendously. He'll make anybody feel lazy. Yeah. And I'm assuming you're probably the exact same way when people see you now. Yeah. It's like, fuck, man, Grant is doing some shit. Yeah. We got to catch up because this guy's making us feel lazy now.
Making moves.
Yeah, I mean, I think like my wife, you know, my wife reminds me that not everyone works the same amount or way I do, and I have to understand that, and my expectations of people, you know, sometimes have to come down to reality, because I'm literally 70, you know, I mean, I feel like I should be, you know, I couldn't be more successful than I am right now in my career to a certain extent, but I work more, I'm broker than I've ever been, you know what I mean? And it's not so much a physical, you know, physical on my body as it is like mental now being more out of the kitchen. And
so now you have a chance to actually invest in yourself.
Not yet, but I think by next year, you know, I'm making changes and just understanding my role. You know, I always thought I was destined to be a chef, or I was going to just be a chef. And I think, you know, realizing now what I'm actually good at is creating and growing things. And, you know, and a chef was really just a step to get to that point. Because, you know, I have 200 staff now, and, you know, multiple talented partners. And we could do, you know, we wouldn't be able to do any of it without all these people. You know what I mean? It's like I get a lot of the press a lot of the times, you know, and, you know, in reality, I'm nothing without, you know, all of these people, right? So, right? You know, unfortunately, the media only wants to talk about, you know, the names that they know, right? They're all like, you know, crunched by like numbers in their editor, or, you know, letters in their words and their editors. So, you know, I think I'm destined to kind of like help create opportunities, you know, for those who have helped me create my opportunities. And that's kind of like my driving force these days.
So like when we missed a portion between you're doing a lot of your studying and that kind of stuff and where you are now. And I know there's a driving force behind that, and time that you must have spent hours late at night just collaborating your brain to get to that next step that day, for that week, that month. What was that period of time in your life where you knew that this is like, essentially you're going to open up your first restaurant and you're confident to know that this first restaurant was going to be a success? What was your first restaurant you opened up?
Hold on, let's go back for a sec though. So Canoe you went kind of from like a commercial.
It's like Pizza, Harvey's, Yogan Fruit, you know, Il Fornello, Ciccio Sanguiccios, you know, rest in peace. And then, you know, I got a job at a Canoe.
It's kind of like a gradual scale up though, right?
Well, Il Fornello to Canoe was like a
big jump. It's a massive.
It's an up.
Yeah. I mean, it's an up, right?
But you make a lot, like, so you're thrown into this environment which you clearly, as you stated, you're learning on it. You know what I mean? As you go along, you're kind of like faking it till you make it.
Yeah.
Clearly, you made it. But along the way, like, did you make any enemies? Did you make any friends? You still got guys that, to have anybody come work with you after that?
Yeah, I mean, enemies, no.
Because I know that's a pretty heated environment there.
It can be. I mean, you know, if you're a jerk, you know, like, you know, the quickest way to the top is by, you know, throwing people off the mountain, right?
So, cutting throats and stuff, I guess.
Being the only one.
You know, I mean, I'm more of you know, my mentality is like the quickest way to the top is, you know, by helping each other and climbing on each other's backs, right? So that's always kind of been my mentality, a team mentality, right? So I think, you know, it's always just, you know, working under, you know, it's not about who you're working for, like, you know, like the common misconception from any cook is like, oh, I got to work at this restaurant because the chef, and, you know, it's got 3 Michelin stars and all this stuff. Like, for me, that is not the way to be successful. For me, it's like, I would rather work in an unknown kitchen, you know, by a chef that no one cares about, if I'm in a proper learning environment. You know what I mean? It's, you know, because I never went to chef school. I have no formal training. You know, there's a lot of things that probably a first year, you know, culinary student can do better than me, or something I've never done. You know, I only know what I've done, or what I've taught myself, or what someone has helped taught me, right? So, you know, I had a mentor, Scott Woods. He was a chef I met at Canoe, and I ended up following him to several restaurants, working under him. He had, you know, a big drive. You know, he was different. He was a risk taker, and you know, for me, you know, I've always just followed my gut feeling, and, you know, I've always looked to where I want to be and, you know, chase it. So my first restaurant was that I opened was the Black Hoof when I was 27, 2008, with former partner Jen Egg. And it was really like I was just making charcuterie because I was just coming from literally a restaurant that was manipulating food to the, you know, the highest level of, you know, meat glue, and, you know, making its own caviar out of juices, and, you know, gluing, you know, octopus together so that you could grill it in a certain style. And
what restaurant was that?
Lucien down at downtown there. And, you know, and we had so much scraps because everything had to be like served in a square, you know, rather than its natural form. So we had so many scraps, so I was curing it all. And I really fell in love with just this like tradition of like patience and technique, you know, of making salamis and making prosciutto and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, I just got to a point in my career where I was like over with the whole idea of manipulating food, and I needed to like, you know, continue practicing and, you know, learning about this art of curing. So I ended up, you know, posting, or I ended up seeing a post on Craigslist by someone who was saying they were looking for a charcutier, you know, which is French for someone who makes charcuterie. or at least in a French accent. And, you know, I remember lining up all my cooks at Lucien in the alleyway, and I was like, which one of you guys and girls, like, put this fake post up? Because I knew that they knew I wanted it. And it was literally it was literally the most perfect posting known to man. It was like, I got the bar, you know, I'm a bartender, you know, like I need someone, you know, a charcutier, you know, and I was just like, and then anyways, I ended up following up, and it was legit. It was Jen. We met for brunch. I think like half an hour later, we had, you know, split up the company 50%. We opened.
Was it open yet at that time?
No. We took a couple months. 8 weeks later, literally like $30,000 on my credit card and like $30,000 from Jen. We opened this like little piece of shit on Dundas, and it was like do it yourself, no reservations, loud music. The goal was only to do charcuterie and cheese, and like a week before we opened, it was. I just, you know, my gut feeling just told me that. This is not a sustainable business. You know, even though charcuterie and cheese was getting hot or on trend or whatever you want to call it, I just realized that people are going to want more, you know, than just this. So we ended up like, you know, taking down a white electric stove from the apartment on the second floor, plugging it in, and I designed like a quick little hot menu. We didn't even have a hood at that time, you know, and opened with 5 hot items. And that was it, you know, like it just like blew up. It was like perfect timing.
Your gut feelings.
Gut feeling, I tell you, is the #1 quintessential tool that has, given me any form of my success. Without that, it's, it literally like just, controls and drives everything.
It's not a restaurant. I'm pretty like a minimal eater nowadays. But in 2008, that restaurant was like a huge deal.
Yeah.
It blew up.
Yeah.
It got a lot of attention. It kind of put you guys didn't get put on the map. You created a map that year.
We were like second best restaurant in Toronto at that point. And
yeah.
We literally like.
You had like everybody and their brother rolling through there. It didn't matter what they're from
Ramsay,
Europe.
Jamie Oliver, Renee Redzepi. It was like, every chef, Grant Achatz, like everyone. It was, it was just real. It was like perfect timing. We were just on the cusp of, the, 2008, the depression on a recession.
The recession.
It was like,
really.
It was cheap. It was just kind of like no rules, and it was open late till 2 a.m. I was cooking food. It was just me in the kitchen which
is kind of standard now. Nowadays.
Totally right.
Yeah.
At least for our restaurants, but it's it was just like that kind of industry, food joint, and it's like all these rich people just lining up to eat tripe and pig brains and beef heart and
everything that nobody wants.
Chinatown, you can get it for like a quarter of the price for the last like 50 years. You know what I mean? Like it's
so true.
It made it cool, but we also made it tasty and approachable, and people were into it. Now, like brains and heart and sweetbreads, you find all over the city.
It's pretty commonplace. So I think that was kind of like the beginning of what would quote unquote air quotes guys the foodie scene in Toronto. And that was pretty much
I don't know if we had I think we were a part of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
for sure.
There's a lot of
things you're directly responsible, but that was a part of the reason why.
I think food from 2008 and around there has kind of skyrocketed.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Or it's defined totally different too, because people are going out not just to eat and then go out to a bar afterwards.
Yeah.
They're going for kind of to go out and have a great experience with their food, have some nice high-end cocktails properly mixed.
I mean, I also think it has to do with just that, we're in our 30s now, and that's what people in their 30s do.
I think we're a bit more refined.
No, we're more refined, but, the 18-year-olds still don't give a shit about,
good food.
Any of our restaurants, right? So, the same way we did it when we were 18. So I think, it's, maybe the recession, people still had to eat, but they still wanted to be entertained. And maybe 2008, you fuse those two together.
Well, the snout to tail is what it was called.
Yeah, I mean, nose to tail type cooking was, obviously, pretty popular. And, I don't like to take, all the credit. I think we definitely played a part with it.
There was something going on, clearly.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like they were all your friends that just showed up. But word spreads, clearly you guys were doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, there was 4-hour-long waits to get in at our peak, right? It was nuts. I would not wait an hour anywhere. You know what I mean?
I wouldn't wait an hour to buy a pair of sneakers yesterday.
That's kind of true. This guy.
Well, that must have been exciting. So kind of like when you were going through this, when you stopped and took a breath, I was going to say, so how did you deal with it? Were you just because let's be honest, being the hot ticket in town is one thing, but being a hot ticket in town under a microscope like that is kind of a different thing altogether. How did you deal with it? Did you stop and take a breath?
Yeah, I mean,
and just how the fuck am I going to deal with this?
It was a lot because it was just I look back at pictures, recently because I've had to dig up some old pictures of that time in my life, and I was just literally frail and just disintegrating, and
28
I was
years
just
old?
So skinny, never ate. I mean, I still don't eat, but I eat one good meal a day now, but. It was literally exhausting, and I think back then and still to this day, I'm driven, by the, by how real failure is right around the corner. You know what I mean? I think for me, I try to be smart and think about things a little bit deeper than perhaps I would have when I was younger. But it's the most successful people in this industry. Have also closed the most restaurants.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If we're talking old school chefs, you know what I mean? And I don't know why that is, but for me, it's that form of success or any form of success, really kind of just makes you feel untouchable. You know what I mean? The idea, for a lot of people that, hey, I can open a second restaurant because I'm known and people will come and that's it. You know what I mean? All of a sudden it makes you try less harder. Where the reality is, it'll be easier to get people to come to your second restaurant. It doesn't mean they're going to come back if it's shit.
You got to deliver.
You know what I mean? And I think, for me, it's like being a rapper, obviously, or X1.
I think you're a rapper.
Let's be honest. Everyone's first rap album, at least when I was growing up, if it's Nas, Jay-Z, Jay-Z's
sophomores,
pretty good. But, like Mobb Deep, all these, people, like their first album was the shit. You know what I mean? And their second, third, fourth album was watered down.
Unless you're the Beastie Boys.
No, for sure. I mean, there's, or Outkast or, but these are people that evolve, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like when I look at the most popular artists, they evolve over time, whether it's like Tribe or, Jay-Z, Outkast for sure. They're not scared to like develop and come up with something new. So I mean, I really tackle every restaurant or new idea like that. It's like I'm very fortunate to be able to be in the position I am. I have a lot of great staff that help me do these things and do it together. But like, that failure, realizing that failure is kind of huge for me. And it's no different from waking up that day many, many years ago and just realizing, how the hell am I ever going to make it, right? So, I don't take that for granted. You know what I mean? It's, so everything we do is like legit. And, there was one time when I was going to do a restaurant where I ended up shitting the bed and pulling the plug like 3 days before opening, which not a lot of people know about. But
was this recently or years ago?
No, this was like in 2010 or something.
Okay, when things were on the roll.
We had the Hoof Cafe, we had the Black Hoof, and like I had this idea when, like Rene Redzepi, Noma came out and it was all about foraging, and I just had this, idea where I was like, oh, I want to like do this restaurant of 20 courses and like just we're going to open it 3 nights a week and we're going to forage in Ontario for the rest of, the days and, have all this eclectic weird plateware. And I was just like, it was one of these trends, and it was just like I woke up, after our first like tasting with our staff, and it was like, this is not me. You know what I mean? Like this is not the food, I like to eat. And from that day, I realized like, you need to cook the food you like to eat, how you like to eat. You know what I mean? And like, so for me, it's kind of like casual. It's it's tasty. It's salty.
So your gut told you once again.
Yeah, it was just like, like this is not legit. Like I'm faking this or I'm kidding myself.
So would you even go to your own restaurant if that was the case?
I mean,
as a cut, like if it wasn't yours.
I just like again, my gut feeling was just like I felt sick to my stomach. We were ready to do it. You know what I mean? I had the staff to do it, the talent to do it, and it just did not feel right. And he pulled the plug.
So like, where do you get your inspiration from then? If this is the case, did you travel? Because I'm seeing a lot of restaurants that will go to say New York or go overseas and grab some ideas and bring it back here and kind of make it their own.
Yeah.
Which I'm getting the sense that you didn't do that.
I mean, I had been on one plane my first time when I was 16 for a school trip, and then I hadn't been on a plane until like 29. So I don't know, what is that, 13 years?
Yeah.
13 years of never traveling. I only ended up traveling after the success of the Black Hoof, and it started with like Montreal and Chicago. And it was until after the Black Hoof where I actually went to Europe for really the first time. And now I travel, more often Mexico, Spain generally right now.
Spain explains.
All my traveling is always work related. Like if you ever see me in Tokyo or something, you'll know like I'm retired. Because I brought 2 chefs on my honeymoon for 3 weeks to South America, with my wife, because it was research. No, it was good because they were friends of ours, but they were another couple, and Julio, our soon-to-be partner in one of our new Mexican joints, he speaks Spanish. He's from Mexico, so it was.
So you brought your own interpreter.
More like an interpreter, right? But no, it was a great trip. But everything's always work motivated, and luckily my wife, up until like recently, she's been a chef her whole life. So she used to work at Joe Beef and live in Montreal, and a lot of cool restaurants out there. I met her cooking at the Black Hoof. She was our first female chef, at the Black Hoof, and yeah, I mean, she gets it, but and her life revolves around food, and but yeah.
That's a pretty good gig when you can have a confidant like that with you, right?
Sure.
So like the traveling, it's like I don't travel to steal ideas. I travel to be inspired, and I look at I really try to understand, why do people go to restaurants, and why are some restaurants busier than others? And kind of my thinking is that people are no longer chasing just a hunger for dinner. More so they're chasing an emotional hunger, and I think that's how we try to apply it to our restaurants and think like that in order to remain busy. It's people, you could have the same quality of food and service at 20 restaurants, but one of them is digging deep into that emotional memory and that emotional feeling. So whether it comes to design, lighting, ambiance, music, all these things, when you walk into our restaurant or bar, we want you to feel a certain way. We want that impact, and when you leave, we want you to feel like you've lost something. And and then during your dining experience, whether it's Bar Raval or Bar Isabel, we, for those who have been to Spain, which is our main inspiration, we want you to feel like you're back in Spain, and we want those good memories to come out. And, and I think that's kind of one of our tactics of what we try to do in order, to be busy and to be a great restaurant. It's like, really dig deep into those like small aspects that, kind of hit all those, hit all those emotions, right? Because, like it's an emotional experience going out.
So it starts from your design element, obviously, as soon as you walk. Because I noticed that when I go to Bar Isabel, first time I ever went there, I'm like, this is a good ambiance.
Yeah.
Didn't know what the food was about, so we gotta go there and try it out. And like, I think we ordered probably almost everything on the menu. We were there for about 4 hours.
Yeah.
Slew of us. Were you there the night?
You went with Rob?
Yeah.
His birthday, I think.
It was at Rob. Yeah,
so
first Rob's birthday. Yeah, so we ate everything.
Yeah, well, that's right. We were right by the kitchen. You kept bringing out food.
You kept on bringing it out. That was awesome. Yeah. That was amazing.
That was amazing. That was a long night.
Yeah, it's probably expensive.
It was pretty expensive. It was well worth it.
That's not cheap.
Yeah, it was
worth it. Yeah. But at the same time, I just wanted to fill the gap here, because there is a story there. How you ended up from Black Hoof to Bar Isabel.
That's right.
There's a bit of if you live in Toronto, there's a bit of a history. Something went down with you and your former partner, Jen.
Yeah.
She's a well-known individual around town, fairly outspoken.
Yeah.
Kind of the opposite of you, which is probably why it worked so well for a while. Mm-hmm. And then you guys went your own ways.
Yeah.
I didn't want to ask really about what happened. It doesn't matter to anybody. Yeah. That's between you guys, and that's a business thing. But because she's an out there kind of person, and you're more of a behind the scenes, how did you leave the spotlight and leave the limelight and kind of get your head together and figure out what you were going to do next? Did it become what was your drive? Was your drive, I don't want to be sitting still, because you've been in a whirlwind for a few years? Yeah. Or did you actually just sit down and want to have some calm moments and put together what you really wanted to do, something serious, because you had momentum? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, the momentum was there, and I guess when the smoke cleared from all the success, and we had a couple businesses together. Yeah. I think we, to keep it short, we really woke up and just realized that we weren't on the same page. Yeah. And I think that's the nicest way to put it. And and again, gut feeling, and even though I focus on the emotional aspect of dining, I'm not really an emotional person. I'm a factual person, whether it comes to debating, and, it sucks for my girlfriends, in the past, and, my current wife, you know what I mean?
Black and white.
It's like, someone's crying, it's like, shut down. What are the facts here? It's black and white. You're right, I'm right. It doesn't matter. It's that's how I kind of... Let's both agree on right. That's how I generally deal with my businesses, you know what I mean? Because business can sometimes be emotional. And, for me, it's our emotions are personal and our decisions are business. So, skip through a few weeks, I just realized that, this was not a situation that I wanted to continue. And I had no problem. You know, I took 24 hours to think about it, and I just finalized my decision. You know, we moved on. Jen kept the businesses.
Which is great because
they're
an institution.
Yeah, I mean,
right?
it's, I'd hate to see these restaurants close down that I played a part of, regardless of whether I don't own them anymore,
Absolutely.
So, I ended up, then the month after that was tough because it was literally like breaking up with your best girlfriend. And I'm talking about the restaurants here.
Yeah.
And, and so I just literally, the phone was ringing off the hook, all these opportunities. Help me, open up a taco shop with me, take over my restaurant, consult, do all this stuff. You know what I mean? I was just like, yeah, man, okay, let's do it. Let's set up a meeting. Let's do it. Right? Yeah, it was like Kobe Bryant, getting fired because, he got caught with drugs in his car, and, everyone just didn't give a shit and just wanted, Kobe on their team, right? But it's, so. And for a month, I was just like, oh, this is amazing. It's just like rebounding with your girlfriend. You know what? You go out, you get drunk, and you're just trying to get laid, and it's just like your emotions, you leave them at home, right? So,
it's so true.
One of the last phone calls was from Max Romaldi, owner of Pizzeria Libretto and Inoteca Sociale in Toronto. And, he just said, Grant, he's like, you know what? I really respect you. I respect what you've done. If you ever want to do something in the future, call me. And I guess when the smoke cleared and I just said, whoa, I got to stop. I got to take some time off. You know what I mean? I can't be just jumping, this is a big, career move. So take some time. Right. And then, that just gravitated towards me. And months later, I just reached out to him. I'm like, yo, let's get to know each other a little bit better. So I took over a kitchen at Inoteca Sociale, just a bit of consulting, wherever they needed. I just wanted to work with their,
Libretto's other restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Just off Ossington.
They're independent. Yeah. So it was just good to develop that relationship with Max. And I just really liked the way he ran his business. He was smart. He was passionate. He was, just liked to do good things. And so from that, he ended up helping me send me to Europe for several months. And I, for the first time, Spain, Italy, France.
Wow.
And Copenhagen as well. And, I left thinking Bar Isabel. We had signed the lease, so I left thinking that I was going to come back and open up a Italian trattoria.
Yeah.
Or trattoria, mind you. But and whatever, restaurant tour. How do you say that in French? Trattoria. But and then I literally went to Spain and I just loved it, and then I was like, oh, but Italy, and I went to Italy and it just didn't gravitate.
Really?
Yeah, man. It's just Italy is great, but it's more sit down, big dinners, slow paced. And Spain was just social, sexy, small little bites. And I just fell in love with that. And again, it was this emotional, feeling and kind of memory that I was just like, yo, we got to do this here. And, and that was Bar Isabel, Bar Raval were the two, inspirations.
Bar Raval is a spin-off from that directly. For those that haven't been, right?
Bar Raval is inspired by, San Sebastian. So the stand-up pincho bars. It was just recognizing the corner we were on and the way people eat and drink these days and the reasons why they go out. We wanted to create a place that you could eat a full dinner, but you would not feel awkward kind of going for a quick espresso, a quick cocktail, a quick business meeting, breakfast, eating octopus or pig's head for breakfast at 8 a.m. And it was just so, and it was just people standing now, it's just their body language is just so much sexier than people sitting down in their little quadrants. You know what I mean?
Well, there's a great story too behind the design of that place as well. But I want to kind of bounce back for one second, which is kind of an interesting perspective. So when you started off at the Black Hoof Cafe or the Black Hoof, which was your first?
It was the Black Hoof, and then it went to the Hoof Cafe.
So what was the square footage of Black Hoof?
Black Hoof was probably maybe around.
These people are going to be fascinated by this.
I don't know, maybe 500-600 square feet.
Including the kitchen?
The kitchen was just a little bit behind the bar. Like,
so you go from that.
There's a meat slicer and a 4-burner electric white stove. Like
that you brought from the second floor.
And like a little home hood with like a kind of like aluminum slinky fan attached to it.
So from visualizing that to the end result of Bar Isabel, your first restaurant you opened outside of that relationship, right?
Yeah.
And I think you're saying roughly around 60 grand, 30 each for Black Hoof.
Yeah.
And the numbers.
Yeah. I mean, they
on Bar
dramatically
Isabel,
jumped,
your
right?
very first one.
Yeah. It was closer to $1 million, but not.
Which is a giant leap.
Magic.
Of faith.
Yeah.
And clearly a smash hit across the board.
Yeah.
I just want people to understand the magnitude of that who aren't living in Toronto and, you know, are coming in. That's a pretty giant leap. Most people will take a mid step there.
Yeah. Now $1 million on a restaurant is just like whatever. It's like, it's what you got to do.
But go there and you'll actually see where the money went because it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, and
it's like a jumping
Bar Raval was like more than Bar Isabel. You know what I mean? It was just, you know, but
you got a lot of accolades for that design from a lot of
we needed
industry.
to convince people to stand up and, you know, spend the same amount of money as a regular sit down dinner in half the amount of time standing.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like that was, you know, our goal. So one of the ways we thought we would be able to do that, and because it was a brand new concept somewhat for Toronto, I guess, was to do the design, you know, like just screw it up, like just do it crazy. And
the reason why I ask is because the design in Bar Raval, for people who haven't seen, check it out on Instagram.
It's amazing.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
There was actually a cutting edge technique and new technology involved, so you guys could put that together that way, right?
Yeah, I mean, we work with
what's the name of the company?
Partisans.
Yeah.
Partisans is a young, you know, young architect firm that, you know, and they were the driving force behind that because, you know, I'm not into art and I'm not into like architecture much, you know what I mean? Like you bring me to a gallery or something, I've been to the Guggenheim and all this stuff, I don't get it, you know what I mean? I'm like, I can appreciate some of it, but not much of it.
So what did you just come up with a bunch of these guys and say, do whatever you want?
I mean, you know, like I'm not super cultured and like all this kind of stuff, like art and stuff. And so, but the one thing that, you know, I gravitated towards was Gaudi, you know, Antonio Gaudi's architecture in Barcelona.
Yeah,
and I was just like, you know, it just spoke to me and I got it now, you know what I mean? And I saw a project by Partisans online, connected through a friend, and, you know, it had like no right angles and it was very curved. And I was just like, I need a bar like this. So I contacted them and, you know, we ended up scheming up this. It almost took a year to build and design. And, you know, I think it was super intense, and, you know, I don't think we can do that to all restaurants and bars. And I don't think you need to, but, you know, this was like, you know, Toronto's architecture for the most part sucks. And, you know, sometimes you're only left within the four walls of a building to kind of play around and have fun. And, you know, I think, you know, as long as it doesn't set on fire, you know, ideally will be some form of institution for the city one day, you know?
I think so as well, providing it doesn't catch
Otherwise, it's going to be a really nice living room kind of sculpture.
If it catches on fire, it'll be twice as big when it comes back.
But, so yeah.
So that must have been pretty exciting, though, when you actually got to open up Bar Isabel. After your travels, you come back and you're like, this is not an Italian spot. I'm going with Spanish.
I was pretty nervous. I was pretty, you know, because it was like, you know, it's like someone who's been on a like long hiatus, you know what I mean? And just like all eyes are on you. It's like, you know, okay, this guy's been, under the radar for like a year or two. And what's he going to do, right? And
speaks volumes about Toronto.
I was so stressed out. Like I literally completely forgot my wife now, but my girlfriend at the time, her birthday. You know, it was like 1 a.m. and she came back to the kitchen on our first night of opening. And I was like, oh my God, it was your birthday yesterday. You know what I mean? I was like, and she's been my support system, right? So for years, and you know, I think I missed one other one. You know what I mean? It's like,
or maybe not. I don't know.
But you know, I was really nervous of like failure, and just like, you know, like the Black Hoof was still like operating and, you know, successful, and it was like, you know, it was my time to kind of say, hey, you know what, like I can do this on my own. I can do this on my own, you know.
Yeah. So what was the square foot? What is the square footage of Bar Isabel?
Bar Isabel's bigger. I mean, it's like a 1,200 square foot dining room.
Significantly bigger.
Yeah, I mean, it's 70 seater.
Plus the kitchen, which is
plus the kitchen, which is a big kitchen. Yeah.
So you.
So I mean, but you know, like I mean, I went from like an electrical white stove. You have to understand, like, people need to understand this isn't like this isn't a fancy kind of commercial stove. This is like something that you may find at your cottage. It's like even at your cottage, it's probably stainless steel at this point. So we'd go through like 3 of these a year. Like they would literally almost blow up or catch on fire.
And you just had to keep replacing with the same style.
We spent almost, I don't know, maybe like $200,000 on the kitchen there, right? It was like, let's do it right, because if we're successful, we're going to regret it if we don't. I remember fighting with Jen, back in the day of like, hey, let's like do a gas kitchen. You know what I mean? It was like, let's like, it was great for the first few years. We did it, we conquered, cooking on an electric stove, but it's no longer cute anymore. It's actually just frustrating because you literally have to design food that can be like reheated on like, pie pans or whatever. It was just, super annoying, right? It's super restricting too. And I think like, no one wanted vegetables, no one wanted salads, and, we always had to do like offal, so like heart, tongue, and just off cuts, and I really just wanted to do like stunning seafood, you know what I mean? And so that's why when you go to Bar Isabel, it's like 60%-70% seafood. It was just it really kind of opened the doors and to what we were able to cook and how we were able to cook it. And the dining room just had I was inspired by an absinthe bar in Barcelona for the design, and we handmade all the tiles in Mexico. Like it was like something like 20 tons of tiles or something ridiculous.
Wow.
That we shipped over, and and a lot of people walk in there like, wow, like this was all here before you took over the building. And like to me, that's the biggest compliment. You know what I mean? I mean, it's not true because we literally gutted it, but
that means everything.
We did a good job.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's
you do. I've never been to Spain, but it kind of feels like I'm in Spain when I'm there from pictures. It does.
It feels a little bit European, at least, like it's loud, it's dark, it's sexy.
Music's
It's cozy, very cozy.
Music's cool. The service is like, ideally top notch, you know what I mean? And we serve food till 2 a.m.
But the drinks are phenomenal as well. You got to give the credit to that.
Wine list is great, drinks are great.
There's a bit of a wait sometimes because it's a busy spot.
Yeah, what are you trying to say, we're slow?
No, not at all. What I'm saying is when I have gone there and had to wait a bit, which is fine by me because I get to drink, and I like drinking, just so you know.
Yeah.
Great bar.
You're drunk right now. Thanks for the beers, the Blood Brothers.
Oh yeah, Blood Brothers. Shout out to Braden and Justin.
There's your plug. There's your plug, guys.
Good beer, by the way.
You did it.
So clearly you went on a roll, and you just, instead of stopping and taking a breath now, you just steamrolled right through to the next phase of your life.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and that's just like, basically I look at the situation like this, and I'm very open with my staff or my partners. It's, at a certain point at Bar Isabel, I had very talented people. It was Michael Webster, our bartender, and it was, you're faced with a situation where your best, one of your best key employees or, people with like an amazing product are either going to move on, work for someone else, move on, open up their own bar, and or the third option, move on, open up something else with me, right? Yeah. So I mean, that's my strategy, and I'm completely open with everyone. It's somewhat charitable, but it's also self-fulfilling. You know what I mean?
It's a good incubator program, right?
For sure. I mean, like, again, going back to the team mentality, it's like, if I open 10 restaurants all by myself, there's going to come a time and place when everything is just going to like shit the bed and fall apart and crumble. And so it's my strategy. It's like, you know what, like, let's use our formula. Let's use our resources. Let's use our staff and, open up this bar. So, if you look at the way it's going, it's literally went from 1, then to 2, then to 5. Next year it's somewhere around 9 or 10. Yeah. And because every year I'm faced with all these talented individuals, and sometimes I, don't do a restaurant with them, like Brandon at La Banane or Guy at Montgomery's, Jeff at Hopgoods, all these talented people, Colin from Grand Electric, and Ian, and, all these, and I'm in full support of that as well. You know what I mean? But if there's an opportunity to do something like with Mike and Robin Goodfellow, Bar Raval, Owen, a Velray Mezcal bar, pretty ugly again, Mike and Robin. And then Harry's was, with Nate, our diner chef, not our diner chef, but our chef at Bar Isabel who wanted to be a diner chef, all these kind of things. It's like, we can do it together. I can help use my, resources, whether it's financial or, smarts or whatever, and do something together. Because ideally in, 10 years, I'll have 20 partners and we'll all have a cottage on the same lake. You know what I mean? Like,
ideally, yeah.
Raising our kids together, right?
Yeah.
So it's
really family.
So I mean, that's my formula. And the next projects, they all have new partners, whether they're chefs or, front of the house people. Like, it makes me proud to kind of, be somewhat of a provider or like, idea maker, but let's not kid ourselves that any of this could be done with just me. You know what I mean? Like, it's, I'm becoming an avenue and kind of like a bridge to get there.
Just
but
opening doors and helping.
I'm not the one carrying all the weight here. And, I think it's really important for me to remind myself that and not take it for granted, and for other people to understand that. You know what I mean? A lot of people think I have some like big financial investor. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't. Max Romaldi helped me out with Bar Isabel. He's my partner there, but I do a lot of it by myself or with my partners. Like, we don't have some big money guy behind us.
There are several companies, unquote unquote, in Toronto that do kind of operate on that capacity where they've got some big corporate money. For sure. But you feel it around.
But you feel it,
Yeah, there is a big difference.
It's like, we're like still like, no matter how successful we get, we're still like, breaking our chops to like come up with the money to, to get this. So,
that's true though, because I guess there's a lot of restaurants you just named off, and this is all within 10 years. Let's be honest, not even a decade. Yeah. Next year's 2018. That'd be 10 years from answering an ad on Kijiji or Craigslist, to where you're at now with the list you just listed off. It's a lot to digest. You know what I mean? Yeah. You seem very level-headed with it. You don't seem to be in a car speeding towards a wall with no brakes. Yeah. A lot of stuff you were speaking of earlier in your new office here that we're in, it seems like you're well-grounded and you're getting some good advice from a lot of people. Or a specific person. Yeah,
I mean, I don't get too much advice, to be honest with you.
Really?
I mean, like,
you're just one of those guys that's just
I don't know where it comes from. I just think about it. I strategize. I go with my gut. I don't read any books. I haven't read a book. Even a cookbook in like years. I don't have time for it. I feel guilty when I'm trying to like read a book. Again, just like if I'm in Tokyo reading a book, then like I've checked out. I sold out or something.
I was just looking where if you actually had a mentor is what I was kind of getting towards.
Yeah, I mean, Max Romaldi like definitely taught me business sense. You know what I mean? But for the most part, like it's pretty much just self-created. At least the way I run it, and I think I've been doing okay. I think I could do better, and I'm interested in learning. But really, it doesn't come from reading management books and stuff like that. It literally just comes from like
experience, perhaps.
Not just like, I don't know, natural thinking. I don't know. Does that sound stupid? I don't know. In my head,
no, it just makes sense.
Common sense.
There you go. Common sense, which is pretty rare nowadays, by the way.
I mean, the one thing we look to when we're hiring people is common sense. Because that's one thing you can't teach. So it's and I base previous decisions based on previous situations. Did it work? Did it not work? Why didn't it work? Like really breaking that down and analyzing. So it's a lot of people question like, oh, Grant's doing a lot of things or maybe too much, or like Grant should slow down. It's like, who the fuck are you to tell me I should slow down? You know what I mean? I'm great. You know what I mean? I get no sleep. I barely eat. I barely see my wife. I have a kid right around the corner, which it's
did you say 6 weeks?
6 weeks, yeah.
Good.
So it's like, it's, have I allocated, everyone's like, yo, have you taken a month off? Are you going to take a month off? I'm like, I'll be lucky if I take 2 days off. But
no, go on.
It's just, like, I don't know. It's just people just have these assumptions, and they make them without any proof You know what I mean? It's like
experience,
until we open up a place where you think it sucks, where, you know, I mean, a lot of people might think our restaurants suck, but it's like, I am able to do this because I've strategically put in, not just by myself, but with my partners and people, like we put in the right people to the right place. Like I could not be happier with our service and our quality of food and commitment from each and every individual. And that comes from the top, you know, which is me, including the rest of our partners. It's like people want to deliver better service and want to, you know, cook better food because of the environment. And so when someone says, you know, I'm doing too much, I'm like, yeah, you know what, like I'm doing a lot, but who the hell are you to tell me it's too much, you know? And because you only have one restaurant and I'm, you know, doing 3 more, it's like, you know, I love it. You know, I'm hungry and, you know, I'm lucky enough to be capable of doing it. But, you know, don't kid yourself and assume that I just have, you know, 10 assistants and, you know, millions of dollars backing it. You know, like I'm shuffling funds. Like, you know, I just remortgaged my house to pay for this office, which, you know, now you could probably edit that out because I haven't even told my wife, but it's like, you know, like I'm like, you know, she's like, why aren't we doing our landscaping this year? And I'm like, you know what I mean? But we got a nice office, don't worry. But, you know, like even this office, it's like, this office is like, you know, and it's, my office is called like my management company, you know, because I had to have one apparently. It's called Over Budget Inc. You know what I mean? You're sitting in Over Budget Inc. right now, okay? Because, you know, I chase where I want to be in 5 years now. You know what I mean? Because no different from like, you know, Black Hoof's washrooms, you know, we cheaped out. We ended up renovating them like 3 times, you know, and it ended up costing us more money. Yeah. You know what I mean? So, you know, if you're assuming or hoping, or, you know, the percentages are, you know, on your side to be successful or to be busy, like do it right the first time, you know, and when you do it right the first time, you don't take things for granted. And I think it makes you work extra harder. So, you know, this year is going to be the hardest year of my life. I've never been broker or more overworked, but, you know, I couldn't be more excited. You know, I'm happy. I'm happy to see other, you know, our staff and partners happy and, you know, like customers happy. I think, you know, trying to figure out not an exit strategy, but, you know, a way to kind of feel not guilty if I'm not working all the time is kind of what I'm looking to maybe create next year.
Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff that I'm learning from you. And like you mentioned Owen, because I've known Owen before he got involved with the bar, and like his mindset has totally changed. We'd sit at a couple of guys, we sit at Greg Bain's place and we'd drink UFC nights, and, you know, now Owen comes, he has a couple of drinks, he's on his phone the whole time. I see him at the gym, he's on his phone the whole time. Owen, get off your phone. It's like, dude, it's not the way it's going to be. And I can now see the similarities between you and him. And I'm thinking like Owen might be looking at you as a mentor. Now you're becoming the mentor for a lot of these younger guys instead of having, you know what I mean? As you looking up to everybody else, but you're going on with it. And I see the other similarity that I see with you too is like how guys like P. Diddy and Jay-Z, you know, those guys built their empires because they didn't get any sleep either. And I'm assuming people were telling them the exact same thing as you, like, you need to slow down, you can't be doing this all the time. Like, who are you to tell me this? Because this is my thing, is what I'm happy with. Well, asset rich, maybe cash poor, but you know your investments are good. You know they're their own little dichotomy, they're all doing their own little thing, right? And you know you're good, so you can continue to move on confidently with all your products and services that you're providing for the city of Toronto and obviously beyond, because people are coming from out of town to go to your spots as well too.
So mentorship. That's what I was actually. It's funny how it all seems to flow together here. But what I was looking at is basically wanting to ask you: Are you hiring guys out of culinary school? Are you looking for people in specific? So if someone's listening to this and they're like, "That's kind of the path I want to go down." My end game is to work for Grant at one of his places, right? So to them, are you like looking to hire guys strictly out of culinary schools, specific ones, or is it just you're willing to teach someone that's coming up through the ranks? And are you offering any sort of mentorship to people? Are you open to that?
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, a cook yesterday, actually, a really talented person. I literally he wanted to talk to me to kind of submit his notice or let me know that he was going to be looking at this new job. And I essentially spent an hour selling him on why he should, go do something else. You know what I mean? It's like, I want people who want to work for us. Yeah. I don't care if you've gone to culinary school or not. I just hired another woman who has never been in a commercial kitchen before. The chef at Bar Isabel right now, I hired him as he was a professional home cook. You know what I mean? So I don't really care. It's like, it's about attitude and drive, and like we've had dishwashers, our Black Hoof, like our dishwasher, one of our first dishwashers ended up being a front of the house manager of one of our restaurants. You know what I mean? So, the reality is it doesn't really matter how experienced or how not experienced you are when it comes to working for us. It really just matters about your abilities and your drive, you know what I mean? And your common sense, right?
Sink or swim, right?
So, mentorship, like, I'll sit down with anyone from any, of our kitchens or front of the house and give them any advice that I can if they want it. You know what I mean? I have a lot to say, but I don't go around saying it. You know what I mean? And
I'm preaching it, that's for sure.
No, for sure. People ask me, and I have, I'm very opinionated, I'm a pretty alpha type partner and, boss. And I think I'm that way because, there should only really be sometimes one person leading a ship. You know what I mean?
There's a captain for a reason, right?
But, like, is the captain more important than, someone, 3 floors, under working something, however boats work? I don't know.
No, he's not. Like, ultimately,
the steam engines or whatever.
Right?
Yeah. It's, it's just, we had to be strategic in how we do our business, and we need to divide and conquer and delegate. Delegate. It's like, it's not one job is more important than the other, but we do need all these pieces to operate these restaurants. And I can tell you, like, we have 50 employees at Bar Raval. That's 50 employees at Bar Isabel.
They're 50 at Bar Raval?
Yeah, 50. We have pretty much the exact same staff at both restaurants. One's 400 square feet. Yeah. One's like, 1,200 square feet. And
plus kitchen.
Yeah, and it's, so it's, there's so much that goes into just like, giving you a little plate of olives, you know what I mean? Like, to tie that all in, right? And a lot of people don't understand that, and, we're not cheap, like we pay our people as good as we can, based on the thing. But it's like, and the problem with running a good business is that so many of your employees want to stay working for you. So every year, everyone's getting raises, your rent's going up, your taxes are going up, food, prices are going up. But you know what? The customer always wants everything to stay the same price. You know what I mean? And that's where it gets tricky. You know what I mean? It's every time someone good quits, it sucks. But I'm also like, thank God, because then we can start someone at a lower salary. You know what I mean? And so it's
douchebag. That's awesome, actually.
Can I ask you a question about See, I see the difference between somebody like you and a Susurli or a Yannick from Nota Bene. There's a big difference between the way that you run your structure and the way that they run their structure. But at the end goal is, if you go into their spots, the service is point on, the food is point on, and the ambiance is point on. But it's two different worlds.
Yeah.
Do you associate with that in any way? Can you relate? Can you sit down with, say, Yannick and get on with it and have a great conversation while,
Yeah, we don't, I never, ask, I generally never ask or question anyone's business practices. I know Yannick. Susurli is my neighbor. We don't ever see each other. But
because you're doing the exact same thing.
But,
maybe on the way in the morning. Yeah.
I do text his wife a lot, and we share a common interest on liking antiques and the housing market. But I stopped looking at what everyone else was doing so many years ago. You know what I mean? I don't care about the cookbooks. I don't really care about the new restaurants, or whatever is popular these days.
What about TV?
Sorry?
What about TV shows?
I got Netflix, I watched Dave Chappelle last night and fell asleep, but
Which one?
First one. He saw the first one, then fell asleep.
Oh, I don't know.
So you fell asleep. Number two is better.
One, but
Number 2 is better.
He wasn't high this time. But yeah, I mean, I just don't really, like what happened. Maybe it was from that restaurant that I never opened, that was inspired by Rene Redzepi's like Noma, you know what I mean? As soon as I like looked at what someone else was doing, it just like fucking backfired, you know what I mean? So, I don't care about what other people are doing because it should have no effect on what I'm doing. And, that's not to say that I haven't asked various people for advice or like, how they've made a jump from here to there. But, I don't know how Susur runs his restaurant, or Yannick.
What do you do to unwind after work? It's typical, like I've known quite a few chefs over the years and been out and about over the years.
Yeah.
There's no hidden history of chefs lighting it up after a long night.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you like to go for a drink after work, unwind? And what are your favorite spots in Toronto to go to? Because this is, as a Toronto-centric show, we like to reveal some of the secrets of hidden spots that you might know that someone else may not.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely like to support people that I like, I think one of the best chefs in the city, if not the best, would be like Jay Carter at Dandelion down the street from here. I was a big supporter of Jeff Hopkins, Food Liner. La Banane in Montgomery's just opened up and they're a staff of ours. So, that to me, Grand Electric. I love supporting a lot of the people that, have worked with me before. Even Rob Rossi, Craig Harding, Campagnolo. We grew up in the trenches together, cooking as young kids. And, so...
all doing well.
But to be honest with you, I don't, a day off for me, or like, if I can fall asleep on the couch watching something on Netflix, like that's kind of like, me cutting loose,
Yeah.
I think it's like, I have a routine where I like wake up at like 7:38, figure out the day, have a ton of meetings, check in on various restaurants, make things happen. I come home at about 6 to 7 o'clock, timed so that, my wife, she'll have dinner, like I have to time it with her, because that's one of the things these days where like eating dinner together is kind of like our quality time. Yeah. I generally, we spend about 20-30 minutes eating dinner. I'm generally have my laptop or cell phone kind of, multitasking, which she doesn't like, but, and then we mosey on up to the couch for like an hour or two, and she goes to bed early now. And then I kind of going from like 10 to like 2-3 in the morning. It's like, that's when I answer all the emails for the day, because they come in quicker than I can, like I'll literally just go backtrack days, a week to like just get through it, because I'm notorious for checking a text message and an email and not replying to it right away. So I literally have to go back, and I do that from like, 3, 4, 5 hours every single night, 7 days a week without, and once in a while I'll just pass out of exhaustion. Like yesterday, I literally passed out at 9 o'clock and I woke up,
Did you hit the gym
7
at all?
in the morning. Sorry?
Did you ever go to the gym?
I drive around a lot.
Yeah.
I smoke cigarettes. I drink a
Smoke darts and drive your 7 Series.
Cigarettes.
Is that a 7 Series or 5?
That one? That's a G90 Genesis.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It's a new one?
Yeah.
2016?
17.
17, really?
Yeah.
Ooh.
But the only thing I do better than cooking and stuff is smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, I'm pretty good at darts too.
Grant, I gotta use your washroom.
Yeah.
Where is it?
Right over there.
Oh, you have one here? Perfect.
New washroom. It looks like shit though.
Okay.
Paint it up, B. So that's an interesting thing. So I know Rob, used to love going out for pho after work.
Doesn't matter. There's no like girl or boy signs.
What would be a spot that you could recommend? Something like that.
What do I do?
What's your secret little?
Everyone knows me for the last like decade. It's Pizza Gigi. You know what I mean? And I ordered Gigi like
Is that where you got your
three times a week. You know what I mean? Generally when my wife's sleeping, because she doesn't like when I order so much pizza. But I'll actually order enough pizza for like several days.
Yes.
I've been known to actually order pizza a day before wanting to eat it because I prefer reheated pizza, you know, than fresh pizza, especially because Pizza Gigi could not, like, you know, every time I ask for it well done, it's just like, it's here in 15 minutes. It's like, really? Like, how is that even possible? But yeah, I mean, it's just, I don't drink a lot. Like, you know, I'm trying to think, when I go out, I try to go to our own bars just to see them and, you know, working. But yeah, man, it's pretty pathetic. I think.
Do you ever do like quick stop-ins just to test the food without announcing yourself?
Yeah, I mean, you know, that's hard to do that. But, you know, I think
I guess
the other day I was at Bar Raval, like, you know, it's the last person's, you know, day here working for us. And I just wanted to, you know, say goodbye and, you know, chill with them. But, you know, it's pretty pathetic, to be honest with you. It's like, I have, you know, if I die young or something, I'm going to really regret not allocating enough time to enjoy life. You know, I've enjoyed life, but it's always been, you know, it's always revolved around work. And I have a feeling that, you know, I'd be pretty upset if, you know, I missed out on a lot of things because I never did the whole, like, Australia, Thailand, you know, whatever, spring break, you know, canoe trips, camping trips with the boys. Like, it was like, I kept my head down, and, you know, but that's also how I've gotten to where I am now. And, you know, I think as long as I can reap those benefits, you know, in the next 10, 20 years, you know.
Well, you did give up a illustrious rap career to become this.
You're right.
You're a restaurateur?
You're right.
Restaurateur.
Mr. Dukes.
So, what's your favorite hip hop group then? If we're going to be cruising around with you and you're going to be bumping tunes, by chance, some guys just like silence in their cars.
See, I'm like, you know, like I work with a company called the Playlist Company, and they do the music for all our restaurants. And like, I'm like, because I'm always opening restaurants, I'm always listening to music, you know, so I'm on like this huge, like Eastern European, like Balkan tip right now. You know, last year it was like Cambodian psychedelic music and and like 1970s like Nigerian, you know, music. And it's just like, you know, after the rap career ended, like music, you know, when I was fixated on cooking, it was like music. I would never listen to music, and I still don't listen to a lot of music unless I'm testing it. You know what I mean? I've never been one of these guys that I have to have an iPod and, you know, this and that, right? So, so for me, it's like music right now. I'm listening to like, you know, kind of tavern-y rock and Balkan stuff. You know, I've been researching like cool bands from like Czech Republic or
Did you actually
Ukraine.
dive into it?
You were 100% in or out.
I mean, we're like, you know, like it's super important. Like the music is huge, and you know, you go to any one of our restaurants, and a lot of the music we play has nothing to do with the restaurant.
It's true.
Because, you know, that's a common problem that, you know, a lot of restaurants do. It's you know, I hate when you go into any place and you, other than maybe the club or a wedding, and you hear a song, you know what I mean? Like I hate when you're like in a bar or, you know, you're in a restaurant and you hear like Notorious B.I.G. or like something. You know what I mean? Because it takes away from that experience. All of a sudden, you're listening to a song that brings you back to your childhood and removes you from the dining or drinking experience. So
that's pretty crazy. I have a friend, Matt Halls, who helped open up Momofuku.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about the owner would come over and more sound. They'd have to put in more sound, and he did meticulously put together these playlists, and they just cranked the music, and he didn't give a fuck.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think it's like, you know,
which is kind of, it's interesting. That was his perspective, and everything comes back to what you're saying. I don't give a fuck what anyone's doing, part of my English.
Yeah.
This is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I totally see your logic once you actually talk about it.
Yeah.
So if I go to you, like Isabel or wherever, I can actually I see what he's saying.
Listen to it. It's like, you know, it's all over the map. Peru, whatever the hell it is. But, you know, it's not taking you away. It's just adding to that ambiance.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I remember my wife's good friend, she's like, oh, I want a Bar Raval playlist for my wedding. And I'm just like, well, do you really? Like, do you know what, do you actually know the music? Or are you just remembering that you liked the sound when you were there? Because I'm like, we're talking about like, you know, a lot of African music, you know, a lot of like, you know, interesting stuff. And I'm like, is your grandma and your mom going to be digging it? Because it's no MJ. And
There's
like,
no disco.
You know what I mean? Anyways, I made a meticulous like soundtrack of the best tracks. And then they didn't even have Wi-Fi connection there. So I didn't have anything, but you know, it's, but like those things, those details are like super important. You know what I mean? It's, I have this thing, it's called like the art of not knowing, I've coined. Maybe I'll write a book one day and, you know, or sorry, the art of not noticing. You know, this is the art of not noticing. And, you know, it can do with the music. Like, I don't want you know, I don't want it to be like, you know, tragically hip, even though I love them, you know what I mean? Playing in my restaurant, you know, I don't want people, you know, because it takes away from the experience, you know,
yeah,
and,
totally.
but, you know, it also stems to like toilet paper and like washroom soap. You know, this is
what? Toilet paper's true because we all have been to a washroom.
Well, it's the art of not noticing,
like,
right? It's like, you know, 95% of restaurants and bars could stay in business if they just kind of, you know, hit the par level of just good enough. You know what I mean? Just good enough is enough to keep you in business, you know, but a lot of the reasons why you don't go back to somewhere is not because it wasn't great, but because it actually like started hitting into the minus. You know, like not having toilet paper is like a minus 10. You know what I mean?
Or having really thin
but having toilet paper is fucking just having toilet paper. You know what I mean? This is like, you know, have the door locks in the washroom working. These are like little details. And it's the art of not noticing. So if you go down to the washroom and all these problems, you know, are here, you go up and it's just like, you know, but you should not notice this stuff, right? Like you should not notice the server coming and filling up your water glass. You know, like it's always annoying when a server comes up, oh, do you want me to give you some more water? It's like, really? Like, I just noticed this weird interaction. You know, just fill up the water glass. You know what I mean? It's so, you know, we kind of preach that stuff, and it goes to like a lot of different various things where we don't want you to notice. And it came from like this coffee cup conversation for Bar Raval, where me, Mike, and Robin, the partners, for 3 days talked about what kind of coffee cup we were going to use, because we were going to develop this new type of way of drinking coffee with like this Spanish woven sleeve for your cup, and we were gonna like serve the little stir spoon and sugar, you know what I mean, differently, you know. And it was just 3 days of all this, only to come back to, we want a coffee cup that you don't even notice, you know what I mean. And that's where the art of not noticing really kind of came from, was like sometimes you don't want people to notice anything. You know what I mean? Because every time someone notices something, they have the option to say, do I like it or do I not like it? You know, so the more you can minimize that, you know, and really just focus on the few things that they will notice, whether it's design or what have you, like that's kind of like, you know, but then it also goes to the toilet paper and soap. You know what I mean? It's, you know, it's, you know, no one should notice that you have toilet paper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one's like, oh, this
should be good enough.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you don't have toilet paper, you know, or the washroom's filthy, so we have people check our washrooms every hour on the hour. You know, so to make sure, you know, like last time, you know, like I went into like one of our restaurants, someone had shit on the floor. You know what I mean? And here I am. I'm just stopping by, and I'm like, you know, trying to keep my foot on the door to not let anyone in while I'm like, you know, literally cleaning up someone's feces. You know what I mean? And you know, but this is the shit we deal with, you know. But how many places like don't send someone down there and people see shit on the floor? You know, like these are, you know, like,
turns into a story.
This is where people fail, because, you know, when all these things, it's like there are better choices out there. But someone who has toilet paper and decent food and, you know, whatever, it's like it's enough to keep you in business. You know, like it can work. Is it going to make you rich? Probably not, but. You know,
it'll keep you out of the bankruptcy bill, that's for sure.
For sure.
Do you got any parting last words? Because we kind of got you right up to date, I think.
Yeah, I don't know.
So this will be Grant part 1.
For sure.
In 2 years, it's going to be
not
part
even
two.
6 months from here.
10 years.
6 months with this guy.
Come back and we'll talk about this office that we're sitting
Yeah,
in.
And the
know if you
baby,
wanted to talk
because I'm interested to see how your demeanor changed once you have the child.
Yo, I just hired someone to run the office who's into dogs and babies. So, I'm just gonna be like, honey, I'm gonna take the baby for like 6 hours, drop her off with Shauna, and go do some stuff, sign a few restaurant deals. No, but the office, pretty excited about it. We're pretty stoked. I think we've been so busy with like running our restaurants or opening new ones that our office is really kind of this maybe like present for everyone.
That square footage up here. You get the whole
it's about 4,000 square feet.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's right on the corner of Bellwoods Park here,
overlooking Bellwoods,
above Queen West Animal Hospital.
Got good security here.
If you want to,
security's
security.
They almost
You getting in?
He was a dick, that guy.
The park that boy, they came out.
Headbutt him. I fucking pay the rent here, buddy. But yeah, I mean, it's called Over Budget Inc. It's the story of my life, and really, it's turning every week. It's turning into something new, and it's going to be part event space, part creative lab. In the most least douchey way, possible to say that. It's really, instead of trying to save money, it's really just trying to birth new ways to spend money, and
keep it with the theme.
Yeah, and be a place for all our staff and any kind of close industry friends to use it as a resource center. We're starting a mentorship kind of. That sounds so douchey too.
Well, it is what it is.
No, it's just yeah, no, but it's some sort of course for free where 30 people or so can. We're designing it so that you can come and basically give you the tools to learn, based on our experience, the A to Z on how to open up a bar restaurant. And that's like financial planning. We're actually going to bring our BMO, bank advisor loan guys here to the office, because a lot of people think, with a good business plan, I can get a loan and I can do this. And the reality is, they don't give a shit about your idea. No. They give a shit about what you have if you screw up. What can I take from you if you screw up? That's what they're concerned about. And a lot of people don't know that. And a lot of people don't know basic little things about opening a restaurant or, where to put your money, how to spend your money, because a lot of people, they come up short. And what happens when you come up short is that your idea and all those things that come along with it come up short. And then after that, people recognize that and they don't come back.
No toilet paper.
You know what I mean? That's right.
Yeah,
or
no doors in your washroom stalls.
Or half renovated, dining rooms that open up, and people are like, why am I going to spend the same amount of money here when I can get it better somewhere else?
The full experience at one of Grant's spots.
Yeah.
True.
Well, and a lot of other people too. But we're installing a whole bar, a whole kitchen here. We did a fireplace. We wanted to be fun and take business and living a little bit more seriously. And it's just it's a place for all our staff to really be proud of. And
be a part of,
and be a part of, right? Yeah. And we're doing a resource center here so that our staff, if they want to open up a restaurant or bar, they can come and put their plan into action, talk to the appropriate people. It's not about necessarily doing with us. We'll only do something if we believe in it and we're passionate about it. So
it's pretty encouraging, I guess, your staff as well, knowing once you guys get this in place, is that when they come into the machine, that is you.
Yeah.
The choice to go work for you and the end game is to work for you.
Yeah.
They know that if they work hard and do well,
that
there's a possibility they can approach you and you can point them in the right direction. You know what? I think this is a great idea. Here's talk to my guy. I love it when someone says that to you.
Yeah.
I got a guy for you. I got a guy, but talk to my guy. He'll take care of you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think
it builds confidence in you too, right? Because you're associating with people who are on the move, making moves, and they're opening their door to you.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's opportunity and growth is like key. I tell everyone, I'm like, as soon as you stop growing or the opportunities stop coming, within us or within our businesses, go find it elsewhere. You know what I mean? And I don't like when people spend way too much time working for us, because I run a business a certain way, but other people, just like I cook a certain way, other people cook different ways. And it's important that you get to learn various ways to reach the same goal, because that'll make you more well-rounded and less, tunnel vision. And, if anyone does want to open a restaurant with me, of my staff, like, I'd be more than happy to hear it out. If I'm into it, I might invest and help be a part of it. If I'm not, I will give you my opinion and give you any help, and resources, to have you reach your goal. Because the more people that succeed that have worked with me, the
bigger your legend gets in reality.
It makes me feel better. It makes me feel like, like this is, like one of the reasons why it's all worth it, and I think, it's huge, it's huge just to kind of be reminded of like, hey, you may have had a little bit of impact on their success. They may have learned something. And, at the end of the day, all I want is just like a Wikipedia account about me. You know what I mean? No, I'm joking. But,
I didn't even think to look at that.
I'm going to write my own fucking Wikipedia. No, but
get your staff. Get your staff to do it.
But, so it's like, I want to see the city be a bit, this city is so incredible. I traveled a lot of places and I come back to Toronto. I'm like, everyone loves to hate on it, but I love it. And I'd love for more of the creative, amazing people to stay within this city. Yeah. And I think it's happening.
Yeah.
It's starting to come back. That's for sure.
Well, this is the city to be in, I think. In any dynamic.
It's just like an amazing balance of like,
everything.
And it's still kind of affordable. Still a little bit.
Relative.
Except for the
if you got over $1 million to buy your own detached home.
It's
and then pay $800,000 rent.
A lot of people talk about our mentorship program being like, hey, aren't you like increasing like your competition? I'm like, competition is good, man. Like,
it's only as good.
I don't want to, be a monopoly in this business. And it's, it keeps us going and it keeps us thinking. And, that's part of the drive of what I like about this business is that the failure rate is so high that you have to be smart. You have to stay on top of it, right?
It's kind of interesting though. Like once you hit the stride in the restaurant, and it's kind of the entertainment business, right? Is once you hit the stride and you roll with it and just stick to the game, you can be around for quite a bit of time. At the same time, as soon as you get comfortable though, you fall off quicker than ever.
For sure.
Especially in a city like Toronto where people are willing to turn around and hate on you so easily.
As soon as you get complacent, what I mean? And it's like, what's tough about what we do is that there's a lot of businesses that like they get a good idea and they're able to replicate it. You know what I mean? It's like, like our friends who own, La Carnita or like Flock, these are all successful businesses. And, I'm super envious of these guys and girls and, or these owners. And it's because it's one good idea done, in different areas. Whereas like how we do most things, it's like brand new idea, brand new problems. There's no precedent of like success on a concept. But I find it super gratifying of every new, place is like a new idea and a new challenge. And, that's what gets me off at the end of the day, like just being able to think differently. Like I'm envious, but at the same time, I don't think I would feel comfortable, doing the same thing all over the time.
How exciting is it knowing now that you've got kind of an infrastructure in place that if you come up with an idea that you really do believe in yourself, that you've got everything together that you can streamline the execution of it to a point where what was a year for Bar Isabel before to come to fruition. Yeah. Now, literally, with a team in place, you could hypothetically execute it within 6 months.
I don't think that's true because I don't work
building something.
Ask any one of my partners. I'll stand and sit and pace in front of the place, and I'll just like, and it's just, again, going back to the gut feeling, and it's like, you know, like a lot of the time is just indecisiveness. Like,
you're waiting for your gut to tell you what to do.
I can't pick the paint color right now, so we're not painting, even if the painters are here. You know, it's got to be that feeling of connecting. And, you know, I remember like the one time I let someone choose something that I didn't, was this master stainer. He's like a master stainer, whatever that means. I just knew him as the angry old Polish guy, you know, and we did Pretty Ugly, the bar, this beautiful woodwork, and I wanted to do a red stain, and this guy just looked at me. And you couldn't actually talk to this guy. You had to go through someone else, and he needed the place empty for like 3 weeks. And I had to talk to someone else who would talk to him, right? Like, this is how, like, what a diva he was, right? And anyways, I was like, red stain. He was like, no. He's like, wrong choice. He's like, this one. And I was like, no, I think it's got to be red, man. And he's like, no. He's like, I've been doing this for years. And he did it. He did his. And I literally walked in there and I was like, we need to rip out all this like 200 grand worth of woodwork or whatever, maybe, I don't know, 60, 100 grand, whatever it was of woodwork. I'm like, we need, if we can't just take this off and redo it, we need to rip it out, you know what I mean? And do it over. And it was going to take another 2 months. And well, a lot of it was like veneer and, you know, you can't just, you know, and, anyways, I was prepared, you know, and my, you know, partners, I can't remember if they were into it or not, but I know I was prepared to, like, you know, we've come this far, we got to, you know, and anyways, we ended up getting a big fight with a Polish guy, and he walked off or something, I don't know, but anyway, he ended up coming back, and we ended up getting to a point that we were okay, you know, with the color. But it was like the one time I didn't go with my gut feeling and I trusted this person, like, you know, backfired. So, you know, I think it's, you know, I don't think it'll get any quicker. You know, I think it'll, you know, somewhat get a little bit easier and smarter, but it doesn't necessarily translate in saving time. I want to, you know, so.
I see your point there. I guess there's no rush in what essentially is your version of, because
if we just get, like, if we start doing more and we're capable of doing more, it's just going to get bigger and bigger, you know what I mean? It's not going to get easier. You know, we're going to reach for the stars, you know,
like, you're going to be writing your version of Art of the Deal.
Yeah. The art of not noticing.
Yeah, there it is.
What's going to be called?
So we're kind of wrapping up now.
Yeah,
I think we've took a lot of your time up, or take it.
I'm just rambling here.
No, it's
a lot of good stuff, man.
Good stuff. I think really I think the best way to end it is, why don't you just tell people what's coming up as far as what's opening up, because there seems to be a lot on the go. Let's give us your social media info. And your favorite 90s hip hop track. That's it. It can't be yours.
90s hip hop track, what do I listen to from 90s? I don't know, I have to think about it. I'm definitely into like Far Side and stuff like that, but so again,
around the world in 90 days. Do you remember that track?
I do, actually.
Around the world in 90. Was that Kish?
90s music was great.
Yeah,
it was great, man.
It just came up in my head for some strange.
You know what though? This new car though, I'm all the like trap music, I think the kids call it or whatever. I just feel like it's fitting for the car. You know? I try to like wear a hood or something just because, you know. But it's just like I'm really feeling it. You know what I mean? I've hated it before, but in that car, it just feels legit. But anyways, I'm Grant Van Gameren. Instagram is at Grant Van Gameren. Twitter, but I don't really use it anymore. I don't know if people do, but
do restaurants have Twitter accounts?
Yeah, but I can't really remember what they are.
No,
they're kind of
like
you can look up Bar Isabel. I think there's an underscore somewhere. Bar Raval, El Rey, Mezcal Bar, Harry's Charbroiled, which we didn't even get to talk about, but definitely check it out. Pretty Ugly Bar, and coming up is the Tennessee Tavern, our weird, large Eastern European tavern bar. It's a Tennessee Tavern 60 years ago, back when filet mignon was like $2 on their menu. So we're bringing back the name out of, you know, for historical purposes, but we're gonna do some big, cheap Eastern European food and do it well. And then, we got Victor Dries, our events and catering, victordries.com. And what else? We're doing a Mexican wood burning restaurant with my partners Julio and Kate and Owen from El Rey. That's set to open maybe in August. It's going to be 30 feet of open fire with no gas or electricity in the kitchen.
Where's that
So
at?
if you got, it's going to be just by Sneaky D's,
Oh,
419 College.
Nice.
Sweet.
So if you like primitive Mexican food inspired by Argentinian cooking styles, it's gonna be badass. We've just been waiting for permits for like a year and a half because the city just does not kind of understand what we're trying to do there.
Well, you can have a permit department in your new shop here.
And I'm looking to do something in Prince Edward County that so if anyone's got some good
What about Muskoka? Didn't your
it's-
voice reach out
it's
there
too-
from?
It's too touristy for me,
Yeah,
I'm not a cottage guy. I'm like a woods guy.
You're a city guy? Or
I think
the woods?
Prince Edward County is where it's at right now.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hope I don't think it'll ever get like Niagara. I don't like Niagara. Niagara's like Florida to me.
Yeah.
I think Prince Edward County is, it might be Florida one day, but I'll be long gone. So, if anyone's got some good, real estate or a good business they want, I'd love to get out there because, sometimes you gotta get out of the city, and I just want to keep on working and not relax. So
They can email you their business?
yeah, what's my email? I got like 15 emails, but grant@barisabel.com.
There you go.
If you want to reach out, tell me I'm an asshole or that I'm doing too much with myself this year. So,
You'll read it and think about it for
if
a
you
minute.
want to
Then
throw
reply.
around some assumptions, just email me them. But to our customers, we have some of the best customer base out there, and what bothers me the most is that I know at least one person in the room at any given time isn't having a good, doesn't enjoy it. And the reality is that no matter how hard we try to be great or consistent or deliver an amazing product, we cannot please everyone. So to those who don't enjoy it, I apologize, but to all those people who, support us over the years, the reason why we do this is because of you guys and because we're passionate about what we love and that you love it. So appreciate the support of all our businesses.
Very amazing. Awesome. Well, before we go, I gotta give a shout out to our newest sponsors, Best Buy Canada. Thank you very much for the product, and Asus Computers as well. Thank you much for the product. We're looking forward to, we got a little giveaway, a contest coming up too. You guys can win a Zen watch. So for those who are listening to the podcast, make sure you tag your friends. I'll give you the information probably next week or on Monday, Monday. Instagram will be on there too, at the City Podcast, or Twitter at the City Podcast, Facebook at the City Podcast as well. But all the information will be there for you to win the Zen watch. It's a dope watch, and that's about it for that. For us on the City Podcast. Grant, amazing having you here. Thanks, learned a lot, and I know everybody's going to really appreciate your crazy mind that's going on.
Yeah,
but it works, man.
Into it,
Yeah,
for
thank
sure.
you, man.
And it's just summer's just about to come up, so
Sun's coming in.
it's gonna be blinding.
This is Big Daddy Kane, and we're signing off. Peace.
Chad Cranston and Steve Mealy.